Well, now, my question is, does money just grow on trees with President Biden's EPA? That question came up this morning in another show on FNC. Anyway, let's talk to Andrew Wheeler, former EPA administrator, and Russell Vought, former OMB director, now president of the Center for Renewing America, both serving as my colleagues and friends in the Trump administration. Andy Wheeler, I'm going to ask Russ Vought about this, $800 billion of new spending and $600 billion of taxes and all the gimmicks and all the crap that's in here. But I am saving the best for you. Because when I saw, and it was our friend Francis Brooke that alerted me to this, I didn't know, it was a couple days ago, before the bill was signed. The EPA is now going to run a bank, Andy Wheeler. Now, Andy, not that I would doubt your possibilities and potentials to be a first-rate banker, but I don't recall that we ever really talked about that in the Trump administration, that EPA would be a $27 billion bank with all kinds of buckets for disadvantaged people and social justice and environmental justice and a whole lot of justice. The only justice that's not going to be served from EPA as a bank is taxpayer justice. But would you explain to me how in the world EPA can run a bank?
Well, I have to admit, I'm concerned. EPA's annual budget is only $9 billion. And this is a $27 billion plus up to the agency. And that's my understanding, about $7 billion of that will be used for state banks. And those will probably be a little bit better run. But there's so much in the legislation for this, so many loopholes on how the money can be spent. And I keep going back to 2009. When Joe Biden was in charge of implementing the stimulus package, and hundreds of millions of dollars in green technology money was wasted in 2009. Over 40% of the companies that received money then went bankrupt within 2 years. And you also had over 50% of the recipients were campaign contributors to the Obama-Biden campaign in 2008. The 2009, when Joe Biden ran it, it ended up being kind of a slush fund to reward their friends and companies that were not sound. So I'm very concerned how this money is going to be spent. And EPA does not have the staff currently. They have to staff up quite a bit to get in a position where they could manage and oversee this large sum
Andrew,
of money.
$27 billion, I mean, it's not JP Morgan Chase, it's not Citibank, but it ain't nothing, $27 billion. Are there a lot of people in the career staff at EPA that have backgrounds as bankers, credit analysts, risk analysts, investment analysts, bank accountants? And who's going to supervise this? Will the EPA now report to the Federal Reserve? Will the EPA now report to the Comptroller of the Currency? By the way, they're expecting the disbursement of these funds. You would think they're called loans, but they're called funds in the legislation, in 6 months. You think they're going to be ready to start up a $27 billion bank in 6 months? Or is this just one big slush fund? One big slush fund, in which case I would take the $27 billion, Andy, and I'd write a check and just give it directly to the Democratic National Committee, who can then pass it on to their donors. I mean, I'd like the government to be as efficient as possible. Just give it to the Democratic National Committee.
Sure. They can't do that in 6 months. We had a small team of career staff that handled a much smaller, similar bank for water projects called the WIFIA program. And those people, it took us several years to hire them, get them trained, get them up and running. And that program has worked fairly well. But that was not 6 months and $27 billion.
Russ Vought.
They don't have the staff that can implement this that quickly.
Sorry. Russ Vought, you've had a lot of experience with this. In fact, your predecessor, Mick Mulvaney, he ran a small bank. Actually, it wasn't a bank. You know, that's the thing. It wasn't a bank. These are regulatory agencies. They're not bankers. And you've got another $250 billion, Russ, going into the Energy Department. $250 billion, as I understand it, from the House Whip's office. How in God's name are they going to spend that, and for what?
They're not going to spend it well, and it's going to be a slush fund, and that's the reality. Is the sizes that we're talking about are so big. $40 billion for the EPA when their annual budget is $10 billion. The IRS getting $80 billion when all of Treasury is about a $15 billion agency, and the Department of Education is a $75 billion agency. These are massive numbers, And when you're being told by Congress that you just have to shovel the money out the door, it goes to pet political causes, the nonprofits that they want to reward. It's going to end up being a massive subsidy to the Democrat climate extremism sector in this country, and is going to do long-term damage to the country. And I just want to give an example. When we talk about environmental justice, one particular example of this is $5 million for Save the Trees, which is going on walks to increase awareness on tree canopy inequity in the coverage of those tree canopies. And to take a look at that and to say, how is that impacting the local communities? Save the trees, walk for the trees. It's solar gardens in the communities. It's bike share programs. It's nonsense. It may be something that someone wants to pay out of their own pocket, but when we have $30 trillion in debt, this is the kind of thing that makes our country such that we won't be able to rebound from it, because we're crippled not just from the cost and the debt, but by the saddling of the fact that this new sector is now receiving taxpayer subsidies instead of checks from big liberal donors.
You know, gentlemen, this bill, I don't know how it's going to be scored. There's so many gimmicks. Russ, we probably need a whole nother segment for you to teach us, whatever, 800 billion, 900 billion, I don't know. This is a massive left-wing, woke, climate change spending spree, Russ. That's all this is. Really? There's no thought given to any of this. There's no clear hearings given to any of this. You know, they think the EPA staff is going to be a bunch of J.P. Morgan bankers. I mean, really? This is just a big Democratic ATM left-wing spending machine at taxpayer expense. Really? I mean, we know it isn't going to curb inflation. We get that. It's going to probably increase inflation. And it's probably going to, with all the tax hikes, going to probably make recession worse. But have you ever seen anything like this? This is just no rhyme or reason. I'll give you the last word, because I don't want to. I've already put pressure on Andy, poor guy. He's going to go back and, you know, there used to be in my day, a long time ago, the old Chase Bank had a terrific credit lending program. Maybe they could put the entire EPA bureaucracy into that lending program. But Russ, how much is this thing going to cost? Take a guess. All the gimmicks and all the garbage in there, how much?
In the first 10 years, it's probably going to cost about $200 billion over 10 years. And in the out years, it's going to have a lot of impact on the economy as these tax increases continue to be extended and the Obamacare subsidies are extended, and all of the tax provisions that are on different time frames for expiring get extended. And this puts in place the economic incentives that are going to drive the economy towards the Green New Deal, and it subsidizes the sector, the nonprofit NGOs, that is going to be critical to being the army for that Green New Deal. This is going to be incredibly damaging.
In other words, not one single incentive for economic growth. Okay? That's the deal. Anyway, Russ Vought, Andy Wheeler, thank you. You're both terrific.